Today, I want to talk to you about three psychological silent killers, psychology that slowly starts to disconnect you from dance and you don't even realize until months or years went by and you just find yourself that you quit dance for good. Have you ever felt that you are wasting your time with dance? You feel guilt of not being productive. You end up asking, like, what's the point? What's the point of this? And then you end up blaming things like age, things like time, things like I'm not progressing and fast enough because I'm not that young. All those things that you probably been telling to yourself are not really the problem. I'm going to talk to you about what psychologically makes you quit before you even realize it, even though you love it. Welcome to Begin Again series. This is a series dedicated to adult dancers that are either coming back to dance, starting off for the first time, or already living it. Stick around because we're going to talk about all things dance from an adult perspective. So let's get started. This psychology is a way of thinking that slowly starts to convince you that dancing is not worth it anymore. Well, some of us might struggle with what I call giving yourself permission. We might grow up in an environment when we obviously need permission from our parents, for permission from our teachers, just permission from something outside of us to do things. And some of these things had to even be earned. So if you even started a relationship pretty young, then you probably just transferred those permissions to your partner. And this might be so subtle that you might be like, oh no, I don't have to ask for permission for anything. Like, I just do what I want. But if you're starting to feel this guilt, this I'm wasting time, you might want to recheck that because your body is kind of signaling you that you don't really have permission to do those things that you just enjoy and that are not valuable, quote unquote. I went through all of these things. I also felt like I was wasting my time. I was like a literal feeling. I was dancing and I was like, I feel bad. Like I feel guilty. I feel like I'm being like this parasite and I'm not doing anything. Like, why am I doing wasting so much time on this? I'm not gonna help anybody doing this. So that's something that we want to get rid of. While growing up, some people start to believe that their value comes from being productive, from what they can achieve, from what they can do for others. And none of those things have to do with you bringing yourself joy. So that slowly starts to signaling ourselves that value comes from others. Value doesn't come from your joy. It comes from, like we said, what we can give. So your body and your brain starts to sense this incongruency in between what you feel, you think, and what you do and what you want. And that can be so exhausting. So you might slowly start to feel that when you do things for yourself that are not productive, that don't help anybody else, that they seem to have no point, are just not so worthy. Are just no so that they just not worth it so much. And you start to feel like you're wasting time. You start to feel guilty of spending time on those things, of spending effort on those things, spending money on those things. Another silent killer for adult dancers is this question: what's the point? I'm not going to be a professional dancer. I'm not going to be paid for this. It's not that people is going to watch me and be like, oh my God, that is so beautiful. Like, I would pay to see you, or like, you make me feel something. It's not like we might get any of those things. So we start to wondering, okay, what is the point? This is like a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of money. Why am I doing this? And I'm going to ask you something. What is the point on making the bed every day? What's the point? We're gonna come back and we're gonna sleep in again, and it's gonna get messy one more time. So why won't you just like leave the bed as it is? You move on with your day, and then you come back and you sleep again. People might not even enter your room, so nobody's gonna really see it if it's undone. You might not even see it until you come back later at night. So, what's the point of making the bed every day? When you make the bed every day, you're signaling your brain, I caught you. I show up for you. I care about you. You're important. Your comfort is important. Your your environment is important, and I'm gonna take care of it. That's what I'm telling to myself every time I make the bed. That is the point. The point is showing yourself with small signals that you care beyond what everybody else will experience from you, beyond what you can do for others. You matter. That is the point. And you can do that with dance because you love it, you enjoy it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to this. It means that you care about it. And you are probably noticing that you messed up, that you probably lost yourself at some point for any reason, and you're doing something to change it. And that's amazing. Your enjoyment is important and it's valid. It's about realizing that you exist beyond of what you can do for others. And I know like we live in a society where we do things for others and we love doing things for others. Like, you know, giving somebody a gift is like 10 times better, 100 times better than receiving the gift. We love to do things for others, but we must not forget that our personal enjoyment that is not going to be productive or anything like that is really, really, really important. We must not forget that, especially if you are a woman, especially if you have kids, because if you do, you know how that can get. I don't have kids. I have two dogs, but still, I get it. Another silent killer for adult dancers is ego and identity issues. So you can go from having no identity at all as a dancer or having like a huge identity as a dancer. That means that you believe that dancers are A, B, C, and D, your curiosity about other things starts to diminish and you look from above, like you look down on other things because you feel so entitled on your identity. That can really, really mess you up for many reasons. One day I was going to a Pilates class and I'm on the elevator and I run into a lady in about like her 70s or so. She used to be a professional ballet dancer and she was being like, oh yeah, like ever since I found this Pilates place, I just love it because everything else feels like so rough. Like everything else is just like so barbarian. And I thought at the time, I thought, yeah, like I feel the same. But at the same time, I didn't really like that Pilates class. I came back just a few times and then I never went back again. And that just led me thinking, like that feeling of this is better than that. And I've been there for a long time. And it wasn't until I stepped out of it that I realized all the things that I was missing out and all the things that I was paying a high price with my body for having that attitude. So, injuries, not being strong enough, not having the physical capacity that I have right now was because I lost curiosity and I was entitled that only what was fitting into the dancer type of identity was what was right for me. And when I stepped out of that, I realized that I was so missing out and that I was going through all these problems with my body because I wasn't experiencing other things that my body needed, but I wasn't providing it because of this entitlement, of this ego, this ballerina persona that I created for myself. So it's great that you have a dancer identity because that is going to guide you through a lot of good stuff, but never look down on other things. So we can learn from everywhere only if you make that your identity don't feel attacked every time you encounter something different and something that you don't fully understand. So understanding all of these feelings, like what's the point, the guilt, the feeling unproductive, this ego identity, like big persona, understanding all of these things might prevent you from creating something like dance, something that can be anything, obviously, but here we are dancers, we're talking about dance, right? Can prevent you from letting yourself go on those things that make you happy. And that is the intent of this video. We can do so many things for others, and we love doing that, and that's literally what we live for. But we must never forget about our own pleasure and our own enjoyment that is free from providing anything to anybody but ourselves. So let me know in the comments what you feel about this, if you ever experienced it, and yeah, let's keep in touch.